Hi everyone! For PSP Let's Play. Today we are going to be playing with some hair and learning how to braid 3 different ways. So the first one will be just a normal braid with the 3 strands, and then the second will be a French braid, and then I will show a Dutch braid. So let's get started. So you're going to start with the hair nice and brushed so that you can run your hands through it and there's no tangles. For her, her hair is very good when you brush it. You're going to tilt the head back, and we're going to start, well actually let's start with a normal braid first before we get into French braiding. So the primary technique of braiding is that you section the hair into 3 as equal as you can sections, and then you try to have them all. So I put one like this, and then I use my middle finger to hold the next part, and then I just have, it'll switch as I cross them over. So I always start with the left side first because I always have the 2 strands in that, and I flip my hand over and take the top piece with my middle finger. And then I do the same on the side, so I just flip my hand and then take the top piece with my middle finger. And you continue doing that, kind of making sure the hair is nice and flat so there's no bumps. So continue to just thread your middle finger through for the top piece that you flip over until you get to the bottom. So that would be for a standard braid. And then you would, obviously before it all falls off, you would put a hair tie at the bottom. So again, you're going to section into 3 equal parts, and then take it, so this is the other side now if you're more right hand dominant. I am, but somehow I start with the left. So you're going to grab the middle piece, or, oh, I didn't do this right. So grab it with your middle finger, and when your hand's like this, you just flip it over and then take the other strand with your middle finger. And then you just keep going until you're done. French braiding is a bit different. Yeah, so you go for it. You're gonna brush all the hair back. If you want to keep the part, you can. It depends on what the person likes or what you like if you're braiding your own hair. And you kind of just lift up however much hair you want to begin with. Sometimes I will start with little hair and then it'll be like super tight braid all the way down. If you want more of a casual braid, you can take more hair, and then again you section it into 3 different pieces. And then, just like before, you flip your hand over and take it with your middle finger, but you're going to let this part go, and then you're going to gather more hair from the side, including the hair that you just let go of. And then you're going to flip this one over and just leave it there like that, and you're going to take more hair on this side. And then with the hair that you gathered the first time, you're going to flip that one over like we do with normal braiding. Let this piece go. And so it's like normal braiding, except when you flip your hand and go to grab the other piece, the piece with only 1 strand or 1 section of hair is going to let go and gather more hair from what's left that's not in the braid and put it in with the other section. So you're creating bigger sections every time and gathering more and more hair as you go down. So we're going to keep going until we reach the bottom. Caitlin's hair is especially good for this because her hair is nice and coarse, and because it's curly, it stays a lot better. Whereas with my hair, it's more fine, and so it's slippery and can sometimes just fall right out of your hand if you're not careful. So you want to if you are working with slipperier hair, so like when you see this, sometimes this piece will just go whoo, right back up somehow when you braid with my hair. She has nice and thick hair too, so we have a nice thick braid. And then gathered up all the hair, and you want to try to keep it as close to the head as possible at the bottom so that you don't have a lot like coming off. And then it kind of bunches up and looks a little funny if you have a bit too much. And then you just want to go until you can't go anymore. I like going until it's like pretty well, but sometimes when you get pieces that come out like that, you might want to section them off and just group that back in and then tie it above. So sometimes you'll have, depending on how you section the hair, you'll have longer tails here at the bottom than you typically would, but that's how you would do a braid. So this is what I'm talking about when I say you don't do it close enough to the head. So you kind of get these things. Sometimes they don't bother people, or sometimes you can just stick a bobby pin and it fixes it. So that's a French braid. There's also a Dutch braid, which is just an inverted version of the French braid. I don't know if the Europeans invented all these, but they are named after them for some reason. So, if you remember before, we would flip all the pieces inwards. Well, now we're flipping them outwards. If that makes sense. So, I'm trying to remember how I start these. So I think I start and I grab that with my index finger and grab this with my bottom, and then I put it out to the side. And so now you're flipping them. So you're starting with your hand like this and you're flipping it out and you're reaching for the outside piece instead of the inside piece. So you're reaching for that one and you're flipping the hair over it instead of under, and you're flipping it outwards instead of inwards. So you're going to keep going. This one takes a little bit more practice because it can become less or more loose as you're doing it because it's a bit different, and I don't know, it just works like that. So you're still gathering hair with every time you switch it over. So like sometimes I use my thumb, if you never notice there, to flip it over and then gather more hair. This one, as you can see, I'm not the best at either, especially with all of this hair. And when you have really nice brushed hair, when you're picking up hair like that, typically it won't get caught in your fingers because it's nice and brushed. Which is why you want to start with that, because if you're braiding someone else's hair, you'll be tugging and pulling all at their hair because your fingers are stuck in all the knots and you're hurting them, and you don't want that. So if you see here that instead of having the pieces go in, you kind of have the braid sitting on the top of the head instead of on the bottom. So you keep going just like the other one until you reach the end. I mean, if you wanted to stop beforehand, you totally could. And then you have a half up, half down look, which can be very nice. So then you're just still flipping outwards and taking the outermost piece with your middle finger instead of the inner one, and go until you have no more hair left. Clearly I didn't section these off very well because I'm left with two pieces that don't have much hair and one piece that has a ton. And then when you get to the bottom, you tie it off, and then now you have a nice Dutch braid, and sometimes you can pull at the braid to make it more full and just give it a nicer look. And then again, when you don't do close enough to the head, you kind of get these things, but they can be pushed back up to the head with a bobby pin, or you can try again. I have braided so many times and I'm still not great at it. As you can see, this one is very messy as I've done it quite fast, and it is better to do it with semi-wet hair, especially with curly hair, because then you don't get as many curls trying to escape and you can kind of brush them in and then they'll stay. So that is how you do a normal braid and a French braid and a Dutch braid. And in the next video, we will go over maybe how to do it on your own head and the techniques that I use to braid my own hair. And we'll also show how to do a fishtail.